The blood on her hands smelled like victory. The whispers about Park Tae-hyun's syndicate weren't hushed. They echoed through Seoul's underworld like thunder. Yet, when Nyasha walked through his steel and glass fortress that Wednesday afternoon, her dark skin gleaming under the harsh fluorescent lights, she grinned and declared, "Word is you devour secretaries whole. Lucky for you, fear isn't in my vocabulary." Something primal and starving awakened in his soul. His executives demanded someone docile and traditional, yet he selected her. The woman whose gaze held fire rather than compliance. Hey besties, welcome to Afro-Korean Stories. Hit that button, smash subscribe, and drop a comment, because what's coming next will leave you breathless. Seoul's skyline pierced the heavens as Nyasha smoothed her blazer outside Park Enterprises. Her heart hammered, not from anxiety, but raw anticipation. 5 years of doctoral studies, 2 collapsed ventures, and 1 audacious vision had delivered her to this glass cathedral. A receptionist with porcelain features assessed her with barely concealed disdain. The chief of staff position, the woman's tone dripped with skepticism as though Nyasha had stumbled into the wrong universe entirely. 10 o'clock sharp, Nyasha affirmed, her voice unwavering. The lift climbed 45 floors while Nyasha surveyed the other applicants, identical copies with fair complexions, poker-straight hair, and submissive postures. She fingered her natural curls and straightened her spine. A figure in designer tailoring emerged from shadows. "Miss Carter, Mr. Park awaits your presence." The suite screamed intimidation. Windows stretching from ground to ceiling displaying the metropolis. Furnishings worth more than annual salaries. Behind a jet-black desk lounged Taehyun himself. Trade publications hadn't captured the raw power radiating from his frame. Chiseled features, eyes like burning coal, and an aura that made breathing laborious. He continued reviewing documents for several agonizing seconds after her entrance. When his attention finally shifted, something lethal flickered across his expression. Curiosity, perhaps, or acknowledgement of an unforeseen rival. "You differ from my expectations," he murmured, voice like velvet and bourbon. Displeased or fascinated, Nyasha claimed the chair without invitation. The ghost of amusement touched his mouth. Time will reveal the answer. What transpired wasn't consultation but warfare. He interrogated every qualification, disputed every achievement, tested every limit she established. Nyasha matched him strike for strike, refusing to surrender. "My executives favor predictable selections," Taehyun eventually stated, reclining with calculated ease. "Your executives don't dictate your existence," Nyasha challenged. "From my research, Park Tae-hyun answers to nobody." He rose abruptly, gravitating toward the window. Sunlight carved his silhouette into something nearly magnificent. "My former assistants survived 2 months at most. They couldn't tolerate my expectations. Then they lacked proper compatibility." Nyasha stood, crossing the distance until his scent, sandalwood and something darker, engulfed her senses. "But I'm capable of managing whatever challenges you present, Mr. Park." He pivoted, and the intensity in his stare robbed her oxygen. "Exercise caution with commitments you might abandon, Miss Carter. I never commit to impossibilities." The atmosphere between them crackled dangerously. His device shattered the tension with an insistent vibration. "The role is yours," he announced suddenly. "Tomorrow dawn, 6:45 precisely." Nyasha's eyebrows lifted. "You're not verifying my credentials?" "I identify necessity when I encounter it," he interrupted, his stare searing into hers. "My administrator will transmit the paperwork. Punctuality is mandatory." That evening, Nyasha video-conferenced her closest friend Maya from her cramped Itaewon flat. I secured the position, the one everyone discusses in hushed tones with that formidable executive. "He's not formidable," Nyasha countered, though her pulse contradicted her statement, recalling that penetrating observation. "Simply exacting. Lady, exercise caution. I've heard whispers." Speculation suggests he maintains connections to perilous operations, genuinely hazardous criminal activities. Nyasha dismissed the caution, yet reviewing the contract that evening raised concerns. The non-disclosure provisions seemed extreme for typical corporate employment. The salary exceeded market rates threefold. Dawn arrived with ruthless precision. Nyasha selected her wardrobe strategically, a wine-coloured dress that made her complexion radiate like bronze. The headquarters buzzed with motion when she arrived, every gaze tracking her journey to the executive level. Taehyun was already mid-conversation, speaking fluid Korean. Yet his attention followed her every action as she arranged her new workstation directly outside his suite. When he concluded, he materialized in her entrance without ceremony. Initial rule: everything you observe here stays confidential. Violate this directive and encounter severe repercussions. Understood? Second rule: when I conference with particular business associates, secure the door and permit nobody entry, regardless of their alleged authority. The manner he stressed business associates made those criminal allegations resurface in her consciousness. Third rule: he advanced closer and Nyasha had to tilt her head to sustain eye contact. Never mislead me regarding anything. I don't fabricate, she stated firmly. Everybody fabricates. Then you recruited the incorrect individual. Something transformed in his demeanor, warmth that made her flesh tingle. The future will demonstrate truth. The initial week dissolved into chaos, scheduling, correspondence, and mastering the intricate mechanisms sustaining Park Enterprises. Nyasha discovered Taehyun operated 22-hour cycles, barely consumed food, and possessed nearly supernatural recall. She also detected irregularities: midnight visitors utilizing private lifts, discussions in tongues she couldn't decipher, protection personnel who moved like military specialists. Friday twilight found her organizing documents while Taehyun wrapped a video conference. She'd believed she was solitary and began humming softly, swaying gently to melodies in her earphones. A heated palm contacted her shoulder blade, making her startle. "Forgive me," Taehyun stated, though his demeanor suggested the contrary. "You remained beyond schedule. The former staff abandoned the disorder. Somebody needed to rectify it. They demonstrated incompetence," he concurred, remaining proximate enough that she sensed his body warmth. "You're unique because I'm systematic. Because you're fearless." Nyasha rotated fully, which proved mistaken. He was excessively close and the suite suddenly felt stifling. "Should I possess fear? Most individuals do. I'm not a typical individual." His hand elevated, nearly grazing her cheek before he restrained himself. "No, you certainly aren't." The moment extended perilously taut. Taehyun's device erupted, shattering the tension. He responded in Korean, his demeanor turning glacial. When he disconnected, the warmth had evaporated completely. "Depart immediately," he commanded. "Did I? Now, Nyasha." She collected her possessions, confusion and injury warring within her chest. At the lift, the security chief, an intimidating figure named Kwan, was waiting. "I'll transport you home, Miss Carter." "That's unwarranted," Mr. Park's directive. The journey passed silently until they reached her building. "Miss Carter," he mentioned as she exited. "Mr. Park treasures exceedingly few things. What he treasures, he safeguards mercilessly." The weekend crawled forward without communication from Taehyun. Nyasha resisted impulses to inspect her device constantly, wondering why he dismissed her so sharply. Monday dawn, she arrived discovering her preferred coffee awaiting on her desk, still steaming. Taehyun was already in his suite conducting another conversation. When he noticed her through the glass, he nodded once. A silent recognition, perhaps even an apology. The subsequent days established their fresh rhythm. He maintained physical separation more carefully presently, yet his attention never faltered. He knew when she arrived each morning, noticed when she altered her fragrance, remembered her beverage preferences without asking. "You're dancing with flames," Maya cautioned during lunch Wednesday. The manner that man observes you is absolutely not professional. He barely observes me, Nyasha protested. Lady, he watches you like you're the sole individual existing. It's overwhelming. That afternoon validated Maya's observation. A prospective investor, David Chen, no familial relation despite the shared surname, arrived for discussion. The American entrepreneur exuded charm and roaming attention. I didn't anticipate Park employing such striking personnel, he remarked, grasping Nyasha's hand excessively long during introductions. Miss Carter serves as my chief of staff. Tae-hyun's voice could have crystallized fire. And she's preoccupied. Yet David lingered after the discussion concluded, hovering near Nyasha's desk. What about dinner? I could reveal Seoul's concealed treasures. I know Seoul adequately. Gratitude, Nyasha declined courteously. Come on. A gorgeous woman like yourself shouldn't eat alone. She isn't. Taehyun stood in his entrance and the temperature plummeted. Mr. Chen, I trust our transaction is finalized. David glanced between them, comprehension dawning in his gaze. I understand. My apologies. After his departure, Taehyun remained frozen, fists clenched. I managed it, Nyasha whispered gently. He contacted you. A greeting lasting 11 seconds. 11 seconds excessively prolonged. The possessiveness in his tone should have alarmed her. Instead, warmth pooled in her abdomen. Why does it concern you? He crossed to her desk in 3 strides, planting his palms on either side of her seat, entrapping her. You comprehend precisely why. This breaches professional limits, she breathed, yet didn't withdraw. Everything I experience breaches professional limits, he confessed, his breath warming her ear. It doesn't alter the reality that observing another man approach you makes me contemplate violence. Tae-hyun, speak it again. We cannot. The telephone rang, fragmenting the spell. The caller identification displayed Korean characters that made his demeanor turn lethal. Secure the entrance, he commanded. Don't unlock it for anybody until I authorize otherwise. The subsequent hour felt infinite. She could detect elevated voices despite the soundproofing. When he finally emerged, his pristine suit was disheveled and his knuckles were bruised. Cancel my afternoon, he stated without meeting her gaze. Are you injured? Cancel them, Nyasha. Not until you permit me to inspect your hand. I'm your employer. And you're hemorrhaging. Sit. Surprisingly, he obeyed, sinking into her seat. She took his hand cautiously, cleansing the torn skin across his knuckles. Neither spoke as she worked, yet the atmosphere hummed with unspoken realities. Who was that? She inquired finally. Somebody who's no longer problematic. That's not a response. It's the sole response you're receiving. She completed bandaging but didn't release his hand. Those allegations about you, about what you genuinely do, would it matter? He interrupted. If they were accurate? Nyasha looked into his eyes, perceiving the challenge, the danger, the barely restrained darkness that should have sent her fleeing. I genuinely don't know, she admitted. At minimum, you're honest. 10 days later, everything fractured. Nyasha was working late again, the headquarters deserted except for protection. She'd finally decoded the filing catastrophe when footsteps made her look upward. Not Taehyun. 3 figures stood in the entrance and every survival instinct screamed danger. Well-dressed, yet with predators' gazes. Miss Carter, the leader, stated with a subtle accent, We need discussion with Mr. Park. He's unavailable. Should you wish to arrange an appointment, we'll wait. They entered without invitation. Nyasha's hand moved toward her device, yet one noticed. I wouldn't. The building possesses protection. Who do you believe granted us access? Terror crawled up her spine, yet she kept her demeanor neutral. What do you desire? Mr. Park possesses something belonging to my employer. We're here to retrieve it. I don't manage Mr. Park's business dealings. The figure smiled without warmth. A stunning lady like yourself. I'm certain he confides everything. Before she could respond, the illumination flickered. Then the entrance exploded inward, and Taehyun stood there like death personified. Yet this wasn't the controlled executive she knew. This was somebody else entirely. Somebody lethal. "You committed a critical error coming here," he stated in Korean, then switched to English. "You committed a worse error approaching her. Park," the leader stated, suddenly less confident. "We merely desire what belongs to us, and I desire you to forget she exists." Violence erupted with brutal efficiency. Taehyun moved like a blade, precise and devastating. Within seconds, 2 figures were unconscious, and the third was retreating toward the window. "Inform your superior if he approaches anybody in my organization again, especially her, I'll obliterate everything he's constructed," Taehyun stated calmly, as though he hadn't just incapacitated 2 figures with bare hands. The figure fled, dragging his associates. Once they'd departed, Taehyun turned to Nyasha, and the ice in his eyes melted into concern. "Did they injure you?" "No, I'm all right." He crossed to her in 2 strides, palms cupping her face, inspecting for injuries. "You're trembling. Those figures, they won't return. Who are they? Who are you?" His hands dropped and he retreated. "You should depart." "No," Nyasha stood, anger replacing fear. "You don't get to do that. Not after this. I deserve the truth. The truth places you in jeopardy. I'm already in jeopardy. They came for me because of you." He flinched as though she'd struck him. "You're correct. This is my fault. That's not what You're terminated." The words suspended between them are like a death sentence. Nyasha stared at him, injury and fury battling in her chest. "You can't terminate me for asking questions. I can do whatever I desire. It's my company." "You're a coward," she stated, gathering her things with shaking hands. "You discuss being fearless, yet you're terrified. Not of those figures, of permitting anybody close enough to matter." She reached the entrance before his voice stopped her. "You matter," he stated quietly enough that she almost missed it. "You matter excessively. That's why you must leave." Nyasha didn't turn around. If she had, she would have seen the devastation written across his face as she walked away. The following dawn, her bank account showed a deposit that made her gasp. 4 months severance plus a bonus that could cover her rent for 2 years. She wanted to return it from pride, yet practicality won. Maya arrived with wine and sympathy. "Perhaps it's for the best." "He sounds dangerous." "He protected me," Nyasha argued, though she wasn't certain why she was defending him. "After placing you in jeopardy initially." Her friend had a point, yet it didn't stop Nyasha from inspecting her device obsessively, hoping for a message that never came. 6 days passed in a blur of job applications and trying not to contemplate dark eyes and gentle hands, bandaging her paper cuts. On the 7th day, Kwan appeared at her entrance. "Mr. Park requests your presence. I don't work for him anymore. Please, Miss Carter." "It's urgent." Against better judgment, she went. Yet instead of the headquarters, Kwan drove her to a private medical facility in Gangnam. Her heart stopped. What happened? Is he injured? Kwan led her through pristine corridors to a VIP chamber. Taehyun lay in the hospital bed connected to various monitors. His face was pale, bandages visible around his torso through the hospital gown. "What did you do?" she whispered, sinking into the chair beside his bed. "You fool, you absolute fool." His eyes opened slowly, focusing on her with effort. "You came." Kwan said it was urgent. "What happened?" "Unfinished business. It's finished presently." "You fool," she stated, tears threatening. "You complete fool." His hand found hers, weak yet insistent. "They won't threaten you again. Any of them. Ever." Understanding dawned horribly. "You went after them, all of them. I told you I protect what's mine. I'm not yours. You terminated me, remember?" "Worst decision I ever made." His thumb stroked across her knuckles. "Yet necessary. You deserve better than this existence. What if I don't desire better? What if I desire you?" His eyes widened, the heart monitor betraying his reaction. "Nyasha, you don't get to make decisions for me," she continued. "You don't get to push me away for my own protection. That's my choice. You don't comprehend what you're choosing, what I am, what I do. Then explain it to me. He was quiet for so long, she thought he wouldn't answer. Then, haltingly, he told her everything. The family empire that wasn't simply business. The organization built on shadow dealings and necessary violence. The balance between legitimate enterprise and underworld authority. I'm not virtuous, he finished. I'm selfish and possessive and violent. I've done terrible things and will do worse to protect what matters to me. I know, Nyasha stated simply. You know? I'm not naive, Taehyun. The midnight visitors, the protection that moves like military operatives, Kwan calling you sir like you're his commanding officer. I knew. I stayed anyway. Why? She leaned closer until their faces were inches apart. Because underneath all that darkness, you're the man who brings me coffee every dawn, who notices when I skip meals and orders my favorite food, who looks at me like I'm precious. You're precious, he stated fiercely. You're everything. Then stop pushing me away. He studied her face for a long moment, then tugged her closer. Final chance to flee. I already told you I don't scare easily. His kiss was gentle, mindful of his injuries, yet full of barely restrained hunger. When they separated, both were breathing hard. Returning, he whispered against her lips. Return to work, to be with me properly, publicly. No more pretending you're just an assistant. Individuals will talk. Let them. Your investors can locate another company if they have difficulty with it. Nyasha pulled back to look at him. You're serious? I've never been more serious about anything. The subsequent few days were turbulent. Taehyun recovered impossibly quickly, too quickly for normal injuries. Yet Nyasha didn't question the private medical team that seemed more tactical than civilian. Her return to the headquarters caused ripples. The official story was a promotion to Special Operations Director, a title that meant nothing and everything. The unofficial story spread through whispers. Park Tae-hyun had finally found somebody he couldn't intimidate. The Tanaka documents need review, she told him their first morning back, attempting some semblance of professionalism. He pulled her into his suite, closing the entrance behind them. The documents can wait. This is still a workplace. He silenced her with a kiss that made her knees weak. My workplace. My rules. Impossible man. Your impossible man, he corrected, pressing his forehead to hers. Yet happiness in their world came with a price. News of their relationship reached ears displeased with Park Tae-hyun's growing authority. If he had a weakness presently, certain individuals were willing to exploit it. It started small. A vehicle following her home that Kwan's team intercepted. Strange telephone calls that were traced and shut down. Then it escalated. Nyasha woke one night in her flat to breaking glass. Before she could scream, a palm covered her mouth. Stay quiet and you won't get injured. Yet the figure didn't know about the panic button Taehyun had insisted she wear. Within minutes, her flat flooded with protection. The would-be kidnapper was subdued, yet the message was clear. She was a target. You're moving in with me, Taehyun declared, pacing her hospital chamber where she was being examined for injuries. Non-negotiable. You can't just... He stopped pacing, kneeling beside her bed. They tried to take you. They put their hands on you. They made you afraid in your own home. So yes, I can and will do whatever it takes to keep you safe. The raw fear in his eyes broke through her protests. Okay. Yet I'm not surrendering my independence. I pay rent. Absolutely not, Taehyun. We'll discuss it later. They both knew they wouldn't. He'd won this round, and the satisfied gleam in his eyes said he knew it. Moving in together shifted their dynamic again. The penthouse was enormous, all glass and steel and modern art, worth more than most houses. Yet Taehyun immediately started making changes, adding splashes of colour Nyasha mentioned liking, stocking the kitchen with her favourite foods, converting a guest chamber into an office specifically for her. You don't have to change everything for me, she protested, watching him direct the delivery of a bookshelf for her collection. I'm not changing anything, he stated, pulling her against him. I'm making it ours. The domesticity was intoxicating, waking up tangled together, sharing morning coffee while reviewing schedules, cooking dinner together when they both left work at reasonable hours. It felt like playing house except for the armed protection and bulletproof windows. One evening, Taehyun came home to find Nyasha cooking in one of his shirts, music playing softly. She didn't hear him enter, swaying to the rhythm as she stirred something on the stove. He stood watching, something soft and vulnerable crossing his face. How long are you going to stand there? She asked without turning. Forever, if you'll permit me. She turned, spoon in hand, and the look in his eyes made her breath catch. Taehyun. He crossed to her slowly, deliberately, taking the spoon and setting it aside. Do you know what you've done to me? Made you eat vegetables? His palms framed her face. You've made me believe in things I thought were impossible, made me desire things I never dared desire. What things? A future, a real existence, not simply violence and power and emptiness. You make me desire to be better. You are better. Because of you. He kissed her softly, then deeper until she was clinging to his shoulders. I love you, Nyasha. I'm in love with you, completely, desperately, probably obsessively in love with you. Her eyes filled with tears. Taehyun. You don't have to reciprocate. I just needed you to know. I love you too, she interrupted. Despite my better judgment and all common sense, I love you. His smile was radiant, boyish in a way she'd never seen. He lifted her onto the counter, kissing her like she was air, and he'd been drowning. When clothes started disappearing, she pulled back. The food will burn. Let it, he growled, yet reached over to turn off the stove anyway. Later, much later, they lay tangled in his massive bed, the city lights painting patterns on their skin. Nyasha traced the scars across his chest, each one telling a story he'd probably never share. What are you thinking? He asked, catching her hand and kissing her palm. That this feels too good to be real, like something's going to destroy it. He rolled them until she was beneath him, his demeanor fierce. Nothing will destroy this. I won't allow it. Yet the universe had other plans. The news broke on Thursday dawn. Somebody had leaked photographs, Nyasha entering Taehyun's penthouse, then kissing in his suite when they thought they were alone, her wearing his shirt on the balcony. The headlines were vicious. Gangster's exotic plaything, one read. Another. Park Empire's criminal prince and his foreign mistress. Nyasha's hands shook as she scrolled through article after article. The comments were worse, full of racism and vitriol that made her stomach turn. Taehyun found her crying in the bathroom, device shattered against the wall. Don't read them, he stated, gathering her into his arms. None of it matters. They're calling me. The things they're saying. They're jealous, bitter individuals who don't matter. Your reputation can burn for all I care. He tilted her chin upward. You are not a plaything. You are not a mistress. You are the woman I love, and anybody who has difficulty with that can answer to me. The board called an emergency meeting that afternoon. Nyasha insisted on coming despite Taehyun's protests. If this is about me, I should be there. They'll be cruel. I've faced cruelty before. The boardroom was tense when they entered. 14 older figures in expensive suits, all wearing identical expressions of disapproval. This is unacceptable, Park, the chairman began without preamble. The media attention, the scandal. What scandal? Taehyun's voice was dangerously calm. That I'm in a relationship? Somebody wholly inappropriate for your position. Nyasha felt Taehyun tense beside her, yet she placed a calming palm on his arm. Inappropriate how? She asked sweetly. Because I'm black and American? Or because I'm not afraid of him like everyone else in this chamber? You don't comprehend our culture. I comprehend business, she interrupted. Since I started working with Taehyun, efficiency is up 40%. 4 major deals have closed that were stalling, and employee satisfaction has increased across the board. Yet please tell me more about how inappropriate I am. The families we work with won't accept this, another board member stated. Taehyun started slowly, Then they wouldn't work with us. You can't be serious. I've never been more serious. Anybody who has difficulty with Nyasha has difficulty with me. And everyone in this chamber knows what happens to individuals who become my difficulty. The threat suspended in the atmosphere like a blade. Several board members shifted uncomfortably. You'd throw away everything for her? The chairman asked. I'd burn it all down for her, Taehyun stated simply. Every last piece. The question is whether you desire to be standing in the ashes or beside me when I rebuild. One by one, the board members looked away. The chairman sighed. The media attention needs management. Already handled, Taehyun stated. The photographer who took those pictures won't be taking any more. The websites running the stories are discovering technical difficulties. By tomorrow, this will be yesterday's news. Nyasha looked at him sharply, yet he squeezed her hand. Later he'd explain. Maybe. That night she found him on the balcony staring out at the city. You threatened your entire board for me. I'd threaten God himself for you. That's blasphemous. Add it to my list of sins. He pulled her against his chest. Are you angry about the photographer? He's alive, just encouraged to pursue opportunities elsewhere, far elsewhere. I should be angry, she turned in his arms, yet I love that you'd burn the world for me, even if it's completely insane. Love makes individuals insane. Is that what we are? Insane. Completely, he kissed her deeply, perfectly insane. The media storm died as quickly as Taehyun had promised, yet other storms were brewing. His show of devotion hadn't gone unnoticed by his enemies. If Park Tae-hyun would burn everything for this woman, then she was the key to destroying him. It happened at a charity gala, one of those glittering events where legitimate business mixed with less legitimate power. Nyasha wore a stunning crimson gown that made her skin glow, and Taehyun couldn't take his eyes off her. You're staring, she murmured as they danced. Everyone's staring. You're the most beautiful woman here. Flatterer. Truth-teller. He spun her, then pulled her close. How soon can we leave? You're the host. We can't leave. Watch me. Yet, before he could make good on that threat, Lee Sung approached. Nyasha recognized him from files she wasn't supposed to have seen. A rival whose territory bordered Taehyun's. Ambitious and ruthless. Park Lee started smoothly. And the lovely Miss Carter. You're even more stunning than the photographs suggested. Taehyun's arm tightened around her waist. Lee. Might I have this dance? Lee asked Nyasha directly. No, Taehyun answered for her. I believe I asked the lady. Nyasha felt the tension crackling between them, saw the way Taehyun's free hand clenched. Thank you, yet I'm perfectly content where I am. Lee's smile didn't waver. Of course, though I wonder if you know exactly where that is. What kind of man you're standing beside. I know exactly who he is, Nyasha stated calmly. Do you? An American with no family here, no protection except what he provides. Wrong, she stepped forward and Taehyun let her, though his palm remained on her back. I'm the woman who looked at Park Taehyun's darkness and chose to stay, who sees his violence and answers with my own strength. I'm not his weakness, Mr. Lee. I'm the reason he shows mercy. Remove me and you remove the only thing keeping him human. Lee's smile finally faltered. You're threatening me. I'm educating you. There's a difference. Fascinating, Lee murmured, yet his eyes were cold. We'll see how long that strength lasts. After he walked away, Tae-hyun pulled her into a fierce kiss right there in the middle of the ballroom. You magnificent woman. Individuals are staring. Let them. Yet his eyes followed Lee through the crowd. He's going to be problematic. Then we'll handle him. We? You think I'm letting you face your demons alone? We're a team presently. His demeanor softened. I don't deserve you. No, she agreed. You deserve better. Yet you're stuck with me. Forever, if I have my way. The words suspended between them, heavy with promise. Yet before either could speak again, the lights cut out. Emergency lighting kicked in immediately, yet in those seconds of darkness, Nyasha felt hands grab her, pulling her away from Taehyun. She fought, Yet whoever it was knew what they were doing. Taehyun. The lights returned to chaos. Nyasha was gone, and Taehyun stood in the middle of the ballroom, like a death incarnate. "Find her," he told Kwan, his voice so cold it could freeze hell. "Find her presently, or I start killing everyone in this chamber until somebody tells me where she is." Nobody doubted he meant it. Nyasha woke with her head pounding and her wrists zip-tied to a chair. The warehouse was empty except for 4 figures playing cards at a table nearby. She recognized one from the gala, Lee's right hand. "Sleeping Beauty awakens," the figure stated, approaching. "Nothing personal, Miss Carter. Simply business. Kidnapping is business. Leverage is business. Park has something Lee desires. Presently Lee has something Park desires. You're making a mistake. The sole mistake was Park thinking he could have a weakness and keep it safe. He'll come for me. We're counting on it. When he walks through that entrance alone as demanded, he dies. Lee takes over his territory." "And me?" "Well, that depends on how cooperative you are. I'd rather die. That can be arranged." Yet Nyasha wasn't listening anymore. She was calculating. The chair was weak at the joints. The figures were overconfident, weapons holstered. They'd underestimated her because she was a woman, because she was civilian. Their mistake. She started rocking slightly, testing the chair's weakness. One of the figures noticed. "Stop that. I need water. You can wait." She kept rocking harder presently. The chair creaked. When they turned back to their cards, she threw her whole weight sideways. The chair shattered on impact, leaving her with zip-tied wrists yet mobile. The figures scrambled for their weapons, yet Nyasha was already moving. Tae-hyun had insisted on self-defense training, and she'd paid attention. A shard of wood became a blade. The element of surprise was hers. She didn't win. 4 against 1 was impossible odds. Yet, she bloodied them enough that when the warehouse entrance exploded inward, the figures were distracted. Taehyun entered like a force of nature, not alone as demanded, yet backed by Kwan and his best fighters. The battle was brief and brutal. When it ended, Lee's figures were down, and Taehyun was kneeling beside her, cutting the zip ties with shaking hands. "You're injured," he stated, touching the bruise forming on her cheek. "You came. Did you doubt it?" "Never." She collapsed against him, adrenaline fading. "Yet you didn't come alone. They started alone. They didn't state I had to listen." His palms roamed her body, inspecting for injuries. "If they'd killed you, they didn't. If they had, every single individual connected to this would be dead by dawn." The darkness in his voice should have frightened her. Instead, she kissed him hard, tasting blood and violence and desperate love. "Take me home," she whispered. He carried her out himself, past Lee, who was being held by Kwan's figures. The rival leader's face was a mask of fury and fear. "This isn't over, Park." Minho paused, not looking back. "Yes, it is. You touched her. You're only alive because she is. Yet, if you come near her again, if you even think about her, I'll forget mercy exists." In the vehicle, Nyasha curled into his side, exhaustion hitting hard. "You can't kill everyone who threatens me. Watch me. Taehyun." "No," he turned her face to his. "No arguments, no moral debates. You are my line in the sand. Anybody who crosses it dies. That's not negotiable. That's not how normal relationships work." "Nothing about us is normal." His thumb traced her split lip. "I'm a monster, Nyasha. You're not a monster, yet still a monster. And monsters protect what's theirs with teeth and claws. You're not a monster. I would have killed everyone at that gala if it meant finding you faster. That's monstrous." She studied his face, perceiving the truth there. The darkness that would never fully leave. The violence that was part of his DNA. The love that made it all worse and better simultaneously. "Then I love a monster," she stated simply. His breath hitched. "How can you?" "Because your darkness doesn't scare me. It should, yet it doesn't. Because you're only monstrous to protect me. Because I've seen you gentle and vulnerable and human too. You make me desire to be human. You're human. dangerous and damaged, yet human. He kissed her, then soft and desperate like she might disappear. When Kwan cleared his throat from the driver's seat, they broke apart. "Sir, there's a situation," Minho tensed. "What presently?" "Your father is at the penthouse." Nyasha felt him go rigid beside her. In all their time together, he'd never mentioned his father beyond acknowledging he existed. "Of course he is," Taehyun muttered. "Did he state what he desires?" "To meet Miss Carter." The tension ratcheted higher. "Take us to a hotel." "No," Nyasha interrupted. "We're going home. I'll meet him." "You don't comprehend. Then explain it to me." Taehyun was quiet for a long moment. "My father built the empire I inherited. He's old school, traditional. Everything I was supposed to be before me. Before I decided I desire more than simply power and fear. I can handle traditional things. His laugh was bitter. He makes me look soft. Yet Nyasha had survived too much to be frightened of an old figure, no matter how dangerous. Then he'll learn that I don't scare easily. Park Sr. was waiting in the living room, a figure in his 70s who wore power like armor. His eyes were Taehyun's, yet colder, calculating. When they entered, his gaze dissected Nyasha in seconds. "So you're the woman causing all this chaos," he stated in accented English. "I prefer to think of it as change," Nyasha replied, not backing down from his stare. "Change, chaos. The result is the same. Instability. Progress is often unstable at first." His lips twitched slightly. "Do you speak Korean?" She switched languages smoothly. "Well enough to know when I'm being tested." Interestingly, he turned to Taehyun. "She's not what I expected." "Nothing about her is expected," Taehyun stated, moving protectively closer to her. "The families are concerned. A foreign woman, especially one who looks like her, makes us appear weak." "Anybody who thinks I'm weak is welcome to test that theory," Taehyun's voice was nice. "It's not your weakness they question. It's your judgment. Love makes figures stupid. It makes them dangerous," Taehyun corrected. "I'm more dangerous presently than I've ever been." "Ask Lee how that worked out for him." His father studied them both. "You'd choose her over everything we've built?" Without hesitation. "And you?" Park Sr. asked Nyasha. "What would you choose?" "I'd choose him," she stated simply. "In any form, in any existence, I'd choose him." The old figure was quiet for a long moment. Then he stood, straightening his perfect suit. "The wedding will need to be traditional. The families will expect it." Nyasha blinked. "Wedding. You think my son compromises everything for a casual relationship? If you're going to destroy decades of careful building, at minimum, make it legitimate." He left without another word, leaving them standing in shocked silence. "Did your father just give us his blessing?" Taehyun asked finally. "I think he just demanded we get married." "That's not how proposals work." Taehyun turned to her, something vulnerable in his eyes. "How would you desire it to work?" "Are you asking?" Instead of answering, he dropped to one knee, pulling out a ring box she hadn't even known he carried. "I purchased this the day after you moved in. I've been carrying it ever since, waiting for the perfect moment. Yet tonight taught me that perfect doesn't exist. Only this, you and me, and whatever insanity comes next." The ring was perfect, an onyx surrounded by diamonds, unconventional and stunning. "Nyasha Carter, you've seen my darkness and chosen to stay. You face my enemies and refuse to flee. You make me desire to be better while accepting me exactly as I am. Will you marry me? Will you be my wife, my partner, my everything?" "Yes," she started through tears. "Yes to all of it." He slipped the ring on her finger, then stood and kissed her like the world was ending. Maybe it was. Their world at minimum shifting into something new. "My father will desire it soon," he warned. Traditional Korean ceremony, hundreds of guests, all the families attending to see proof that Park Tae-hyun has been tamed. Have you been tamed? Never. Yet they can think what they desire. The wedding planning happened at breakneck speed. Within 3 weeks, Nyasha found herself overwhelmed with dress fittings, venue selections, and traditional customs she struggled to keep straight. Taehyun's mother, who she hadn't even known was alive, appeared to help. "You're braver than I was," the elegant woman stated during a fitting. "I tried to change him, my husband. I tried to soften the edges. It only made them sharper. I don't desire to change Taehyun." No? She didn't wish he was normal? Safe? Nyasha considered this. If he was normal, he wouldn't be him. And I fell in love with him, not some safer version. His mother smiled sadly. "Then perhaps you're not brave. Perhaps you're just as dark as they are. Perhaps I am." The comment haunted her. Was there darkness in her that recognized him? Is that why his violence didn't repel her? Why she could watch him threaten board members and feel pride instead of fear? She was contemplating this when Maya arrived for the wedding, took one look at the protection and luxury, and whistled low. "Lady, you weren't kidding about him being intense. You have no idea. Are you happy?" It was such a simple question with such a complicated answer. "I'm alive in ways I never was before. Every day is intense, dangerous, and passionate. I'm terrified and exhilarated, and so in love it physically hurts sometimes." That doesn't sound entirely healthy. It's not, yet it's real, and it's mine. The night before the wedding, tradition dictated they sleep apart, yet Taehyun appeared at her hotel chamber at midnight, slipping past his own protection. "You're not supposed to be here," she stated, yet let him in anyway. "I needed to see you. Tomorrow you become an official target. My wife will have even more enemies than my girlfriend did. I know what I'm signing up for." "Do you? Really? A lifetime of looking over your shoulder, of armed protection and bulletproof vehicles, of being hated for being with me and being different." "Yes," she stated firmly. "I know, and I choose it anyway." "Why?" "Because the alternative is existing without you, and that's not existing at all." He made love to her slowly that night, like he was memorizing every inch of her. When dawn broke, she sent him away with a kiss and a promise. "After today, nobody can separate us." "Nobody could presently," he stated fiercely. "Yet after today, it's official, legal, binding in every way that matters." The wedding was a spectacle. 600 guests, a mixture of legitimate business individuals and those whose business happened in shadows. Nyasha wore a traditional hanbok for the ceremony, the silk feeling foreign yet beautiful against her skin. When she saw Taehyun waiting at the altar, her breath caught. He looked magnificent in his traditional clothes, yet it was his demeanor that stopped her heart, raw, open adoration that he didn't try to hide. "Let them all see," his eyes seemed to state. "Let them know she owns me completely." The ceremony was in Korean, yet she'd memorized her parts. When they exchanged rings, Taehyun's hands trembled slightly. This figure who could kill without blinking was nervous about putting a ring on her finger. "You may kiss the bride," the officiant stated in Korean. Taehyun didn't simply kiss her. He claimed her in front of everyone, making it clear that this wasn't a business arrangement or strategic alliance. This was love, possession, obsession. The reception was when things went wrong. Nyasha had just changed into a reception dress, a modern creation that hugged every curve, when she noticed the servers acting strange. Something in their movement, too coordinated, too aware. She found Kwan immediately. Something's wrong. He didn't question her, simply started moving, speaking rapidly into his earpiece. Yet it was too late. The lights went out again, yet this time gunfire followed. Screams erupted as guests dove for cover. Emergency lighting revealed masked figures streaming in from every entrance. "Get her out!" Taehyun roared, appearing from nowhere, weapon already in hand. "Not without you," Nyasha stated, grabbing a blade from the nearest table. This is not a discussion. A masked figure rushed them. Nyasha moved on instinct, the blade finding its mark. The figure dropped and she stared at the blood on her hands. "We go together or not at all," she stated, voice steadier than her hands. Something shifted in Taehyun's demeanor, pride mixing with fear. Stay close. They fought their way out together, Kwan and his team forming a protective circle. Bodies fell, blood spread across the beautiful venue, and Nyasha discovered she could kill to protect what she loved. In the vehicle, safe for the moment, she stared at her blood-stained wedding dress. "You killed me," Tae-hyun stated quietly. "You've killed for me multiple times. It's different, I'm already damned. You were innocent." "I was never innocent, just untested," she met his eyes. "And I'd do it again." "My dark queen," he murmured, pulling her close despite the blood. "What have I turned you into? Nothing I wasn't already. You simply gave me a reason to show it." They spent their wedding night in a safe house, treating wounds and washing away blood. Not the romantic evening planned, yet somehow perfect for them. When they finally came together, it was desperate and raw, proving they were alive, they were together, they were unbreakable. "Do you regret it?" he asked in the darkness after, "marrying me?" "My wedding was attacked by assassins. I killed somebody. I'm spending my wedding night in a safe house that smells like gunpowder." "That's not an answer," she rolled on top of him, straddling his waist. "I regret nothing. This is who we are. Blood and violence and love so intense it reshapes the world. I wouldn't change any of it. You're perfect," he stated reverently. "Perfectly mine." "And you're mine," she reminded him. "My monster, my protector, my husband." The word husband seemed to ignite something in him. He flipped them, pressing her into the mattress. "Say it again. Husband. Again. My husband." He kissed her deeply, possessively. "My wife, my queen, my everything." They stayed in the safe house for 4 days while Kwan and his team hunted down whoever had ordered the attack. It turned out to be a coalition of smaller families who thought Taehyun had gone soft. That love had made him weak. They learned otherwise when he systematically destroyed each one, not with violence, yet with precision. Financial ruin, legal pressure, strategic betrayals. He dismantled their empires piece by piece while never leaving Nyasha's side. "You're terrifying when you're protective," she told him, watching him orchestrate destruction over the telephone. I simply have better motivation presently." 6 weeks after the wedding, existence had settled into a new normal. Nyasha officially took over parts of the legitimate business while learning the shadowy sides. She had a gift for strategy, for perceiving connections others missed. "You're a natural," Taehyun stated, watching her negotiate with a difficult supplier. "I learned from the best. You surpassed the best. Yet the honeymoon phase couldn't last forever. The attack on their wedding had shown weakness, and in their world, weakness invited challenge. It came in the form of Detective Han, a cop who couldn't be bought and had a personal vendetta against the Park family. He appeared at Nyasha's office one afternoon, all false smiles and veiled threats. "Mrs. Park, how lovely to finally meet you. Detective Han, to what do I owe the pleasure? Simply a friendly visit wanting to make certain you comprehend what you've married into. I comprehend perfectly. Do you? Your husband is a criminal, a killer. Eventually I'll prove it and you'll be left with nothing yet, shame and prison time as an accomplice. Are you threatening me, detective? Warning you. There's still time to make a deal. Testify against him and you walk free. You desire me to betray my husband? I desire you to save yourself." She stood, moving around the desk slowly, predatorially. "Detective Han, permit me to explain something. You think I'm a victim? A woman trapped by love or circumstance? Yet I chose this existence with eyes wide open. Every dark corner, every bloodstain, every illegal deal. I chose it all. You're confessing? I'm educated. You can't save somebody who doesn't desire saving, and you can't threaten somebody who's already accepted all possible consequences. You'd go to prison for him? I'd go to hell for him. Prison seems mild in comparison." Han left, yet she knew he'd return. Figures like him didn't surrender easily. That night she told Taehyun about the visit. His reaction was predictable. rage, protectiveness, promises to make Han disappear. No, she stated firmly. We handle this legally. He threatened you, he warned me, there's a difference. And killing a cop brings heat we don't need. Since when do you care about heat? Since I became your partner, not simply your wife. This is strategy, not emotion. He studied her for a long moment. You've changed. Is that bad? No, it's magnificent. You're becoming what this world needs, somebody who can navigate both sides, the light and the dark. There is no light in our world, simply different shades of dark. Yet you make the darkness beautiful. Their first anniversary approached with no major crisis, which should have been a warning. In their world, quiet meant a storm brewing. It broke when Nyasha discovered she was pregnant. She stared at the test for 30 minutes, mind racing. A baby. In their world, with their enemies, with the constant danger. Taehyun found her there, immediately knowing something was wrong. What is it? She wordlessly handed him the test. His face went through a journey of emotions, shock, joy, terror, fierce protectiveness. A baby, he breathed. A target, she corrected. Our child will be born with enemies. Our child will be born with an army protecting them, he countered, pulling her close. Nobody will touch them. You can't guarantee that. Watch me. Yet even as he held her, she felt him trembling. The figure who feared nothing was terrified of becoming a father. What if I'm like him, he whispered. My father, cold, cruel, caring more about power than family. You won't be. How can you know? Because you're already worried about it. Because you love so fiercely it reshapes the world. Because you'll protect this child the way you protect me, with everything you have. The pregnancy changed things. Taehyun became even more protective if that was possible. Protection tripled. The penthouse became a fortress. He tried to remove her from all dangerous aspects of the business. I'm pregnant, not broken, she argued after he'd blocked her from another meeting. You're carrying our child. That makes you vulnerable. That makes me motivated to secure their future. They compromised. She'd handle only legitimate business until after the birth. Yet even legitimate business had dangers in their world. 9 months in, heavily pregnant and frustrated with limitations, Nyasha attended what should have been a simple contract signing. Yet Lee had survived his previous encounter and held grudges. The sniper's bullet shattered the window, missing her by inches only because she'd bent to retrieve a dropped pen. Chaos erupted, protection swarming, yet Nyasha's only thought was protecting the existence inside her. Taehyun arrived like an avenging angel, taking in the scene with eyes that promised death. Finding him was all he stated to Kwan. Lee died that night. The official story was about a heart attack. The real story involved Taehyun personally ensuring nobody would ever threaten his family again. You can't kill everyone who threatens us, Nyasha stated, though her protest was weak. I can try. The baby came early, stress and violence taking their toll. 18 hours of labor with Taehyun refusing to leave her side despite hospital protocol. When their daughter finally arrived, screaming and perfect, both parents cried. She's beautiful, Taehyun whispered, holding the tiny bundle like spun glass. She's ours, Nyasha corrected, exhausted yet euphoric. What do we name her? Something strong she'll need to be. They named her Zuri, beautiful and good. And as Taehyun held his wife and daughter, he made a vow. I'll make the world safer for her. Whatever it takes. We will, Nyasha corrected. Together. 4 years passed. Zuri grew into a fierce, beautiful child with her mother's curls and her father's intense eyes. The empire evolved, becoming more legitimate without losing its edge. Detective Han mysteriously retired after his own corruption was exposed. New alliances formed, old enemies disappeared. Yet the biggest change was in Taehyun himself. Fatherhood had softened some edges while sharpening others. He was still dangerous, still ruled through fear and respect, yet presently there was something else, purpose beyond power. "Daddy!" Zuri squealed, running into his suite where he was mid-meeting with dangerous figures. Everyone tensed, yet Taehyun simply lifted her onto his lap. "Hello, princess." "Where's Mommy?" Mommy's talking to the scary figure. Taehyun's entire demeanor shifted. What scary figure? Nyasha appeared in the entrance, calm yet alert. New prosecutor. Fishing expedition. It's handled. Define handled. I gave him enough rope to hang himself. His connection to the Yamamoto family will be public by tomorrow. Taehyun smiled, sharp and proud. My brilliant wife. Your terrifying wife, she corrected, then noticed the chamber full of criminals trying not to stare at their superior holding a toddler. Gentlemen, shall we continue, or does my daughter's presence disturb you? Nobody dared state yes. That night, after Zuri was asleep, they stood on their balcony overlooking Seoul. The city sprawled beneath them, glittering and dangerous. Do you ever regret it? Taehyun asked. This existence? You ask me that often. Because I need to know. You could have been normal, safe. I could have been bored. She turned in his arms. I could have lived 1,000 ordinary existences. Instead, I got one extraordinary one with you. Even with all the blood, especially with all the blood, it proves how far we'll go for each other. He kissed her deeply, passionately, like he had that first time years ago when she'd walked into his suite unafraid. I love you. I love you too. All of you. The monster and the man. They're the same thing. I know. That's why I love them both. As if sensing the moment, Zuri's cry echoed through the penthouse. They went to her together, soothing nightmares that came from existing in shadows. Yet even shadows could be beautiful with the right light. And Nyasha had become that light, not by diminishing Taehyun's darkness, yet by making it her own. Together they'd built something impossible, a love that thrived on danger, a family that flourished in chaos, an empire that ran on blood and devotion in equal measure. The woman who'd walked into Park Tae-hyun's suite 4 years ago, confident and unafraid, had become something more. A queen in a kingdom of shadows. A mother raising a princess who would inherit both light and dark. A wife who matched her husband's intensity with her own. The world had whispered about Park Tae-hyun's empire, about the danger that sent individuals fleeing. Yet Nyasha hadn't fled. She'd conquered. She'd claimed. She'd transformed a monster into a figure who could love without losing his edge. Their story would be whispered in the underworld for generations. Not a fairy tale, yet something better. A dark romance that proved love didn't always conquer evil. Sometimes it joined it. Sometimes it became it. And sometimes that was exactly what was needed. As dawn broke over Seoul, painting their penthouse in gold and shadow, the Park family slept peacefully. A MAFIA king, his warrior queen, and their princess. Proof that even in darkness, love could bloom. Dangerous, beautiful, and absolutely unstoppable. The empire they'd built would outlast them. The love they'd forged would echo through time, and the little girl sleeping between them would grow up knowing that her parents had burned down the world and rebuilt it just for her. All because one day a woman had walked into an office, smiled at the devil himself, and stated she could handle him. She'd been correct. She'd handled him, claimed him, and made him hers forever. And he wouldn't have it any other way. If you loved this journey with us, show some love by hitting that like button, dropping a comment below, and subscribing to our channel. Your support keeps these stories coming, and trust me, we've got plenty more where this came from. Until next time, stay captivated.